Stories fam. We've got an absolutely heart-stopping, swoon-worthy story for you today. It's a tale of two different worlds colliding. One is built on money and power, the other on struggle and survival. But what happens when you sign a contract to fake the one thing that can't be faked? Let's jump in and tell us, what city are you watching from? For 23-year-old Mia Collins, the sound of a heart monitor was the soundtrack of her nightmares. It was a steady, rhythmic beep that reminded her that time was running out. Mia looked up as Dr. Evans approached, his face grim. She stood up, her hands trembling. She was wearing her diner uniform, a pale pink dress with a grease stain on the apron that she hadn't had time to wash. "Mia," Dr. Evans said softly, removing his glasses. "We can't push the surgery back anymore. Your mother's heart is weakening. We need to operate by the end of the month." Mia swallowed the lump in her throat. "I'm picking up extra shifts, doctor. I just need a little more time. The loan application is pending. The hospital administration is pressing me." "Mia," he interrupted gently. "It's $50,000 for the procedure and the post-op care. Without a down payment by Friday, they're going to discharge her." Discharge her? That was a polite way of saying they were sending her home to die. Mia walked out of the hospital into the pouring rain. She didn't have an umbrella. She let the cold water soak through her thin clothes, masking the tears streaming down her face. She had $3 in her bank account. Her landlord had threatened eviction yesterday. And now this. She walked to the bus stop, shivering. She looked up at the towering skyscrapers of the city, their lights twinkling like diamonds in the sky. It felt like a cruel joke. Up there, in those penthouses, people spent $50,000 on a handbag or a weekend trip. Down here, it was the price of a human life. "I will save her," Mia whispered to the rain, clenching her fists until her nails dug into her palms. "I don't know how, but I will." Across the city, Alexander Knight was facing a different kind of desperation. He was the CEO of Knight Enterprises, a man who could crash the stock market with a single tweet. But right now, he was powerless. "Read it again," Alexander commanded, his voice like crushed ice. His family lawyer, Mr. Henderson, adjusted his tie nervously. "It's your grandfather's final amendment to the will, Alexander. To ensure the legacy of Knight Enterprises is left in stable hands, my grandson Alexander must demonstrate stability in his personal life. He must be married and cohabiting with a spouse for 1 full year before his 30th birthday. If not, control of the company passes to the board of directors." Alexander slammed his fist on the table, making the water glasses shake. "My birthday is in 3 days. This is manipulation from the grave." "It's binding," Henderson said. "And the board is eager to take over. They think you're too volatile. Too solitary. A wife would fix your image." Alexander walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, looking out at the city he ruled. He didn't do relationships. Relationships were messy. People were greedy. His own parents had destroyed each other over money before they died in a crash when he was 10. He trusted no one. "I need a wife," Alexander muttered, his eyes narrowing. "But I don't need a partner. I need an employee." He turned back to the lawyer. "Draft a contract. 1 year. Complete confidentiality. No emotional attachment. A hefty payout at the end. Find me someone desperate enough to sign away a year of their life, but invisible enough not to cause a scandal." "Sir, where are we going to find a woman like that in 48 hours? Alexander grabbed his coat. "Leave that to me. Fate has a funny way of bringing two extremes together." Mia was running on 2 hours of sleep. The diner was packed. A baby was crying in booth 4, a man was yelling about cold soup in booth 2, and her boss, Danny, was screaming from the kitchen. Mia! Table 6 needs coffee. Mia grabbed the pot and rushed to table 6. She was so dizzy from exhaustion that she didn't see the mop bucket left in the aisle. Her foot caught the edge. For 23-year-old Mia Collins, the sound of a heart monitor was the soundtrack of her nightmares. It was a steady, rhythmic beep that reminded her that time was running out. Mia looked up as Dr. Evans approached, his face grim. She stood up, her hands trembling. She was wearing her diner uniform, a pale pink dress with a grease stain on the apron that she hadn't had time to wash. "Mia," Dr. Evans said softly, removing his glasses. "We can't push the surgery back anymore. Your mother's heart is weakening. We need to operate by the end of the month." Mia swallowed the lump in her throat. "I'm picking up extra shifts, doctor. I just need a little more time. The loan application is pending. The hospital administration is pressing me." "Mia," he interrupted gently. "It's $50,000 for the procedure and the post-op care. Without a down payment by Friday, they're going to discharge her." Discharge her? That was a polite way of saying they were sending her home to die. Mia walked out of the hospital into the pouring rain. She didn't have an umbrella. She let the cold water soak through her thin clothes, masking the tears streaming down her face. She had $3 in her bank account. Her landlord had threatened eviction yesterday. And now this. She walked to the bus stop, shivering. She looked up at the towering skyscrapers of the city, their lights twinkling like diamonds in the sky. It felt like a cruel joke. Up there, in those penthouses, people spent $50,000 on a handbag or a weekend trip. Down here, it was the price of a human life. "I will save her," Mia whispered to the rain, clenching her fists until her nails dug into her palms. "I don't know how, but I will." She stumbled forward. The pot of hot coffee flew from her hand. Splash. It didn't hit the floor. It hit a pristine, $3,000 Italian suit. The entire diner went silent. Alexander Knight stood there, hot coffee dripping down his chest. He looked like a statue of fury. He slowly lifted his eyes to meet Mia's terrified gaze. "Oh my God," Mia gasped, grabbing a handful of cheap napkins. She tried to dab his suit, her hands shaking violently. "Sir, I am so sorry. I'll pay for dry cleaning. I didn't see you." "Don't touch me," Alexander snapped, brushing her hand away. "You're fired." Danny yelled from the counter, red-faced. "Mia, that's the last straw. Get out!" Mia froze. "No, Danny, please. I need this job. My mom." "Out!" Mia felt the tears coming again. She looked at the man in the suit. "Sir, please tell him it was an accident." Alexander looked at her. Really looked at her. He saw the frayed hem of her dress. The dark circles under her eyes. The desperation that radiated off her like heat. He saw a woman who had nothing left to lose. "Wait," Alexander said, his voice silencing the room. He looked at Danny. "She's not fired. In fact, she quits." He turned to Mia. "Come with me." "What? Where?" Mia stammered. "You said you'd pay for the dry cleaning," Alexander said smoothly, pulling out a black American Express card and dropping it on the table for the bill. "My car is outside. We have business to discuss." Mia looked at her angry boss, then at the mysterious, powerful stranger. She untied her apron, threw it on the counter, and followed him. "Who are you?" Mia asked, gripping her purse. "I am Alexander Knight. And I have a proposition for you." He handed her a tablet. The screen displayed a contract. Mia read the bold letters at the top, "Marriage Cohabitation Agreement." "Is this a joke?" She laughed nervously. Are you some kind of creep? I am a businessman with a deadline, Alexander replied, not looking at her. He was typing on his phone. I need a wife to secure my inheritance. You just lost your job. I did a quick background check while we walked to the car. Your mother, Elena Collins, is in St. Jude's Hospital. She needs a mitral valve repair. Cost, $50,000. Mia went cold. How do you know that? I know everything, Alexander said. He finally turned to look at her. His gray eyes were intense, devoid of warmth but full of power. Here is the deal. You marry me. We live together for exactly 365 days. We attend events. We smile for cameras. Behind closed doors, you stay out of my way. In return, I pay for your mother's surgery immediately. I provide you with a monthly allowance. And at the end of the year, you get $1 million and a divorce. Mia stared at him. It was insanity. It was selling herself. But then the image of Dr. Evans' face flashed in her mind. Discharge her. Why me? Mia whispered. You could have any model or actress. Models and actresses talk to the press, Alexander said. You won't. Because if you breach the confidentiality clause, you owe me the money back. And you don't have it. The car stopped in front of the hospital. Alexander looked at her. Well, do you want to go inside and tell your mother you failed, or do you want to save her life? Mia looked at the hospital entrance. She took a deep breath, picked up the stylus, and signed the tablet. I'll do it, she said, her voice shaking but determined. But I have one condition. You never, ever treat me like I'm beneath you. I'm your wife on paper, not your servant. Alexander raised an eyebrow, surprised by her spark. Agreed. And just like that, Mia Collins became Mrs. Alexander Knight. The penthouse was breathtaking. It floated above the clouds, a palace of glass, steel, and marble. But it was freezing. There were no photos on the walls, no flowers, no warmth. Your room is the guest suite in the East Wing, Alexander said, walking in and immediately loosening his tie. My suite is in the West Wing. The kitchen is fully stocked. My driver will take you wherever you need to go. But do not enter my office, and do not disturb me after 9 p.m. So we just live here? Like roommates? Mia asked, her voice echoing in the large foyer. Like business partners, Alexander corrected. Good night, Mia. He walked away without looking back. The first month was lonely. Mia visited her mother every day, who was recovering beautifully thanks to the surgery. That was the only thing keeping Mia going. At home, Alexander was a ghost. He left before she woke up and returned long after she slept. They communicated via sticky notes on the fridge. Dinner with the board on Friday. Wear the blue dress in your closet. Be ready at 7. A. We are out of milk. Also, you work too hard. M. Mia tried to add life to the house. She bought flowers. She opened the curtains. She started cooking dinner, the smell of garlic and rosemary replacing the smell of cleaning products. One night, Alexander came home to find a hot meal on the island counter. Lasagna. He stared at it. He hadn't had a home-cooked meal since he was 10. He meant to ignore it and go to his room, but the smell pulled him in. He took a bite. Then another. Mia watched from the hallway, hidden in the shadows. For the first time, she saw his shoulders relax. The first public test of their marriage was the annual Knight Foundation Gala. The press was hungry for a glimpse of the mystery woman who had tamed the icy billionaire. Smile, Alexander whispered, his hand resting on the small of her back. His touch burned through the silk of her dress. They are watching. Mia forced a smile. I feel like an imposter. Everyone knows I don't belong here. You are wearing a $10,000 dress and you are on my arm, Alexander said, his voice low. You belong where I say you belong. Suddenly, a woman approached. She was tall, blonde, and strikingly beautiful, wearing a dress that looked like liquid gold. This was Vanessa, Alexander's ex-fiancée and current business rival. Alex, Vanessa purred, ignoring Mia completely. I heard the news. I thought it was a joke. You? Married? She finally glanced at Mia with a sneer. And to a waitress? Darling, surely you could have aimed higher than the help. Mia felt her face burn. She wanted to disappear. She waited for Alexander to step away, to let the insult slide. Instead, Alexander's grip on her waist tightened. He pulled Mia closer, until her side was pressed against his chest. Vanessa, Alexander said, his voice deadly calm. Mia is not the help. She is my wife. And she has more class in her little finger than you have in your entire trust fund. If you insult her again, I will buy your company and dissolve it by morning. Do we understand each other? Vanessa turned pale. She stomped away. Mia looked up at Alexander, wide-eyed. Her heart was pounding, not from fear, but from something else. You defended me. Alexander looked down at her. His gaze wasn't cold anymore. It was intense. Confused. You're my wife, Mia. No one disrespects you. The music started. A waltz. Dance with me, he commanded. It wasn't a question. They moved to the dance floor. Alexander moved with surprising grace. He held her close. Mia rested her hand on his shoulder. For a moment, the cameras, the lies, the contract, it all faded away. There was just the warmth of his body and the beat of the music. You look beautiful tonight, Alexander whispered. It sounded like the truth. Mia's breath hitched. Alexander, we're acting, right? He looked at her lips, then into her eyes. Right. Acting. But neither of them let go when the music stopped. But the walls we build around our hearts are hardest to break when we are strong. It's when we are weak that the light gets in. 2 months later, Alexander came home early. He didn't say a word. He collapsed onto the sofa, shivering violently. Alexander? Mia ran to him. His skin was burning. You have a fever. I'm fine, he mumbled, trying to push her away. Just tired. Leave me alone. Shut up, Mia said firmly. She wasn't the timid waitress anymore. She was the woman of the house. She ran to the kitchen, grabbed a bowl of cold water and a towel. She sat beside him, dabbing his forehead. She loosened his tie and unbuttoned his collar. Don't. Alexander groaned, his eyes squeezed shut. Don't take care of me. I'm not good. You're sick, Mia soothed, stroking his hair. Shoo. In his delirium, Alexander grabbed her hand. He held it so tight his knuckles turned white. Everyone leaves, he whispered, his voice cracking. Mom, Dad, they all left. Don't leave, Mia. Please. Mia's heart broke. She realized then that his coldness was just armor. He was a terrified little boy who had lost everyone he loved, so he decided never to love again. She leaned down and kissed his forehead. I'm right here, Alex. I'm not going anywhere. She stayed up all night, holding his hand, watching him sleep. And somewhere between the thunder and the silence, Mia Collins realized the most dangerous thing of all had happened. She had fallen in love with her husband. Alexander woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of tapping. He opened his eyes to see his grandmother, Eleanor, standing over him. Mia was asleep in the armchair next to him, curled up in a blanket. "Grandmother," Alexander croaked, sitting up. "I let myself in," Eleanor said sharply. She pointed her cane at Mia. "Who is she?" "My wife," Alexander said, his voice firm. "So the rumors are true." Eleanor sat down. "I came to expose the sham." "I know you, Alexander. You don't love. You negotiate." Mia stirred and woke up. She saw Eleanor and jumped up. "Oh. I'm sorry, I fell asleep." Eleanor narrowed her eyes. "Come here, girl." Mia walked over nervously. Eleanor grabbed Mia's hand and inspected it. Then she looked at the bowl of water and the towel by the sofa. She looked at the dark circles under Mia's eyes from staying up all night. Eleanor's expression softened. She looked at Alexander. "She stayed with you all night?" "Yes," Alexander said, looking at Mia with a softness he didn't try to hide. "She saved me." Eleanor sighed. "I came here to demand you annul this marriage." "I thought she was a gold digger." "But a gold digger steals your watch while you sleep, Alexander. She doesn't cool your fever." Eleanor stood up. "You finally did something right, grandson. Don't mess it up. Things were perfect. Too perfect." Alexander and Mia were eating dinner together, laughing, sharing stories. The line between fake and real had blurred completely. Alexander was planning to tear up the contract. He had bought a ring, a real one. But happiness attracts envy like a moth to a flame. Vanessa walked into Alexander's office. "What do you want, Vanessa?" Alexander asked, not looking up. "To save you," she said, dropping a folder on his desk. "I did some digging on your precious Mia. Did you know she was in debt? Not just medical bills. Gambling debts. Her father's debts." She slid a forged document across the table. It was a fake email, supposedly from Mia to a friend, saying, "Only 6 more months until I get the million. Then I can finally leave this icicle of a man and live my life." Alexander read it. His blood ran cold. The old fear returned. The fear that he was unlovable. That he was just a bank account. "It's a fake," Alexander said, but his voice wavered. "Is it?" Vanessa smirked. "Ask her. Ask her if she's counting down the days." Alexander went home that night, his heart turned back to stone. Mia ran to greet him. "Alex. Look, I made." "Stop," Alexander said. He threw the folder on the table. "Is it true? Are you just counting down the days?" Mia looked at the papers. "What? No. Alex, I don't even know what this is. Don't lie to me." Alexander roared, the hurt making him cruel. "I forgot who you were. I forgot this was a transaction. You played your part well, Mia. You almost had me fooled." "Alex, please, listen." Mia reached for him. "Don't touch me." He pulled away. "The contract ends next week. But you don't have to wait. Take your check. Get out. I never want to see you again." Mia stood frozen. She saw the wall back up. He had shut her out. She didn't fight. She didn't scream. She simply walked to the table, picked up a pen, and wrote something on the check he had left there. "Goodbye, Alexander," she whispered. She grabbed her small suitcase and walked out of the penthouse, leaving her heart behind. The penthouse was silent. The smell of rosemary and garlic was gone. It smelled like expensive leather and loneliness again. Eleanor walked in. "Where is she?" "Gone," Alexander said, drinking scotch. "She got what she wanted." "Did she?" Eleanor picked up the piece of paper on the table. The check Alexander had signed for $1 million. Eleanor looked at it and gasped. "You blind fool." She threw the check at him. Alexander looked at it. Mia hadn't cashed it. She had written across the front in big bold letters, "Void." And on the back, a note. "I never wanted your money, Alex. I just wanted you. I hope you find happiness, even if it's alone." Alexander stared at the handwriting. The fake email Vanessa showed him, the handwriting didn't match. The tone didn't match. He realized what he had done. He had let his fear destroy the only real thing in his life. "She left the money," Alexander whispered, his voice trembling. "She left it all." "She loved you," Eleanor said, hitting his leg with her cane. "And you broke her heart. Now, are you going to sit there and drink, or are you going to go get your wife?" Alexander stood up. He smashed the glass on the floor. "I have to find her." Mia went back to the only life she knew. Waiting tables. Serving coffee. Trying to forget the man who lived in the clouds. The diner door opened. The bell jingled. Mia didn't look up. "Sit anywhere you like. I prefer table 6. It has the best view." Mia froze. She dropped her notepad. She turned around slowly. Alexander stood there. But he wasn't wearing a $3,000 suit. He was wearing jeans and a simple black t-shirt. He was soaked from the rain. He looked exhausted, desperate, and completely in love. "What are you doing here?" Mia whispered. "I breached the contract," Alexander said, stepping closer. The diner fell silent. "What?" "Clause 4, Section B," Alexander quoted, his voice thick with emotion. "No falling in love." "I broke it, Mia. I broke it a long time ago." He pulled out the check she had voided. He ripped it into tiny pieces and let them fall to the floor. "I was stupid. I was scared. I thought everyone wanted me for what I have, not who I am. But you gave up $1 million just to prove me wrong." He knelt down on the greasy diner floor, right where they first met. He didn't care about the mud. He pulled out a small velvet box. "I don't want a fake wife, Mia. I don't want a roommate. I want you. I want the burnt lasagna. I want the cheap flowers. I want to wake up every day knowing I'm loved by the bravest woman I know." He opened the box. A simple, elegant diamond ring shone under the diner lights. "Mia Collins, will you marry me? For real this time? No deadline. No exit clause. Just us. Forever." Tears streamed down Mia's face. "You're an idiot, Alexander Knight." "I know," he smiled, tears in his own eyes. "But I'm your idiot." "Yes," Mia sobbed. "Yes." Alexander stood up and swept her into his arms. He kissed her, and this time, there was no hesitation. No acting. The diner customers erupted in applause. Danny, the boss, wiped a tear from his eye. "I'm keeping the chef, though," Alexander whispered against her lips. "I missed your cooking." Mia laughed, burying her face in his neck. "Shut up and kiss me." They had a real wedding that spring. Vanessa was not invited. Eleanor sat in the front row, crying happy tears. Alexander eventually stepped down as CEO to start a non-profit with Mia, helping families pay for life-saving surgeries. they didn't just build a marriage, they built a legacy of kindness. Alexander learned that the greatest risk in business isn't losing money, it's losing the chance to love. And Mia learned that sometimes, the coldest hearts just need a little warmth to beat again. Wow! I'm not crying, you're crying. From a spilled coffee to a soulmate connection. It just goes to show, fam, that true love cannot be bought, sold, or signed on a dotted line. It has to be felt. If this story found you outside Soul Stories, welcome home. We are a family here. Comment below, what would you do for $1 million? Would you sign the contract? Or is love too precious to fake? Let us know! And hey, if you want more stories like this, maybe a story about a high school reunion revenge, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Until next time, keep your heart open. Peace. 94.8s. Use arrow up and arrow down to select a turn, enter to jump to it, and escape to return to the chat.